Welcome to Respect, the San Francisco International Hip Hop Dance Fest weekly podcast. I'm your host, Micaya, and here is my extraordinary co-host, Brandy Beasley.
That's me, BB, BJB. What's up, everybody?
What's going on, Miss Brandy's?
I made biscuits this morning.
That's very Southern.
You know, my family, you got to know how to make biscuits or else you might get clowned a little.
I like grits too.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Are you salty or sweet grits?
Salty.
I can do both, but salty, I think, is my favorite. Yes.
Salt and butter. Have you ever tried to buy grits in California? You're like, excuse me, where are the grits at? Oh, they're like on the bottomest corner in the, like where you go in Atlanta, and they're everywhere. You can just pull them and put them in your cart.
Right. Variety. The grits aisle.
Grits aisle. Right. Not here. If you're lucky, you can find some grits. Otherwise, you have to get them online in California.
You got to get your grits online. Oh, California, we need to up our grits game.
Yeah. One of the things I've had to get used to in my many years of living here, that and the collard greens are like this big. Yeah. And when you buy them in Atlanta, they were like huge. Mm-hmm. They fill up a whole pot.
Right. I don't know that we can grow them like that out here. It's that, that Atlanta, Georgia heat, humidity, that red dirt.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Are we here to talk about dance?
Today we're going to talk. This is the Grits and Southern Cooking Podcast.
Let's go.
Okay.
We're here to talk about dance.
That's right.
So anything in that world going on?
Maybe. I mean, the countdown is going. Dance Fest, November 11th through 13th. You got to get your tickets. If you want to get pumped before Dance Fest, you got to go to One Love, November 3rd. Yeah. So, those are I'm going out November 3rd, November 11th through 13th. We got the VIP party that Sunday after the last show, kids circle that same day. We got a lot going on. It's coming up real quick. And
may I mention, as always, and this is huge, everyone, there is one person who sponsors all of the alcohol at the after party. And that one person is Miss Brandy Beasley.
I got y'all. Gonna have some drinks, beer, wine, signature cocktail. Come on out. It's going to be fun.
I don't know where you are, but you're here to me. There you are.
You're over there.
I don't know. There you are. And always thank you. This is the after party, the party after the 5:00 show on Sunday, where you can party with the performers, dance, get some drinks, have a little fun. There's going to be a live performance too. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Okay. That's always nice.
Some strutting, some popping.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
It's always on point at the VIP party. Always.
Yeah. So for all of this, just go to SFIHHDF.com. You're going to get a lot of information, more than I could even talk about right now. We're going to have master classes. We're going to have parties. And of course, the shows, right? 2 programs, Program A and Program B. And each program is twice throughout the weekend. And we have performers today as our guest in Program A. And who are they?
I am excited to introduce. I'm always excited to introduce the people. I get to introduce them. So we have Rocko and Alli Fritz. So I'm going to get into Mr. Rocko. He's been dancing since the age of 7 in all kinds of dance forms. And in high school, he discovered the local hip hop community in the Bay Area. Trained with someone I know named Micaya, and eventually joined Funkonometry SF, where he eventually became artistic director. Within Funkonometry, he discovered the creativity and freedom of choreography And after a few industry jobs, he realized he loved being the visionary and the educator, not necessarily the one performing on stage. I know someone who can relate to that. So in 2015, he established his competitive team called I&Q. And in 2016, he and his partners opened Full Out Dance Studios, which is a community dance space focused on inclusion, community, and fun. And we also have with us Alli Fritz, one of the Bay Area's premier dance instructors specializing in jazz, funk, heels, which is something I am not always trying to do, and performance. She's the creator and director of the Dance Intensive Program, hashtag Extra AF, and is the current co-director of the dance company I&Q. Alli is a resident instructor at Full Out Studios and choreographer for the Golden State Warriors. All right. She's extremely passionate about encouraging her students and bringing out the inner star in everyone. Welcome, welcome. So excited to have both of you here.
Welcome.
Hello.
Morning. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
I feel like I'm rarely introduced, so that, I don't know, that was a nice little experience. A little reminder of how long you've been doing stuff. So
Right?
We're not old. We're not old.
No. But you are special.
Mm-hmm.
And you are important, and it's good to remind you of that. I all of a sudden feel like my babies are here, and I really do. This is different than just talking to a b-boy in Paris or telling us about the culture there. This is our babies, and I'm excited for you to share them. I'd like for you all both to just tell us about your beginnings, where you started dancing, and how you started dancing.
I can start. So hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm so excited to be performing at SF Hip Hop Dance Fest in just a month now. I can't believe how close it is. So my dance beginnings are right here on this Zoom call. So again, I don't know where you are. You're this way to me, but Mama Micaya was my very first instructor when I was 5. So I was lucky enough that my mom wanted to go take a workout class. And at the same time, there was a 5 and under hip hop class going on. So I got to start with Micaya from the very beginning. After a couple of years, I grew up dancing here in the Bay Area. I went to LA for school and got to train with really inspiring people, Nico Connor and Beau Fournier. And I danced with NSU Modern and ACA while I was in college. And that's kind of where I found my spark of all things jazz funk. I didn't even know what jazz funk was until I went to Los Angeles and saw all the glitter and all the hairography. And I was like, oh, these are my people. I got it. Okay, this is my style. And then after that, after graduating, I came back to the Bay, moved home, and I was lucky enough to stumble into funkonometry, and Emerson and Rocko and everybody pulled me in and said, here, we'll be your dance family. Got to train with funks. And then Rocko created I&Q and again, pulled me in. I think you lured me in with oh, hey, would you come teach a piece to the company? And I was like, oh, sure. That would be great. I would love to do that. And I taught a piece, and then it was oh, would you set a piece? And I was like, oh, yeah. I'll set it. That sounds fun. Block the piece. Long story short, I think it's been, 5-6 years, however many years at this point. And I still haven't left. So became a part of I&Q. And then now, yes, teach at Full Out Studios weekly, get to choreograph with really cool and exciting teams like the Warriors. And overall, I similar to Rocko, don't get me wrong, I love being on stage. I love performing. I'm a total ham. But what's been really inspiring to me in my dance journey is being able to support and cultivate people's own confidence. I think everyone is so talented and has that inner superstar inside of them. And if I can help pull that out and show you how fantastic you are, that's been a huge part of my dance journey.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Wow. Let's see. I mean, I said an exhaustive bio, so I think B pretty much covered it. But to fill in some gaps, my mom noticed I was shy and quiet, so she put me in acro in grade 1, and I did not take to that. But she did notice I liked moving, so she put me into a local dance studio in Alameda in 2nd grade, and then I ended up in like a community musical, and then like she couldn't shut me up after that. So it's like much less shy. And I think that was like my first opportunity to learn how like performance art can be a conduit to like expression and finding confidence and like building community. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, everything Bea said in the intro, I just kept dancing and dancing, found Micaya. I was like, in college, I was like, I do not want to dance anymore, because it had been that thing in my life, like literally since second grade. So I felt like it was more of an obligation. And then I started going to Academy of Art University when I was 18, and I felt, I don't know, it was like scary for me. I grew up pretty much between Oakland and Alameda in kind of a sheltered bubble. So being in the city was kind of scary. And so I felt myself kind of withdrawing. I was like, what am I missing? And I was like, I think it's dance. So I just Googled, hip hop classes in San Francisco. And I found this Micaya. And I think it was like Sierra or something, the first like piece. And mind you, I'd been in like studio hip hop classes growing up. So I was like, oh, this is different. This is different. This is authentic. The energy in the room, it wasn't as like rigid. I mean, she got us together, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel as stuffy as my training in other spaces. And then that just kind of cemented it. I went to actually Hip Hop Dance Fest. I wish I had it next to me, but I found like the green and yellow zip pullover thing and the blue and white one. But yeah, I went to that first show, or the first dance fest I attended, and it was like the crowd was so hype, and I don't know, it was like, wow, there's love in this community, and this is something I've never experienced before, and I think I've kind of been hooked after that. And then, like you said, I opened the studio. I danced on Funkonometry a bunch, and then I think, well, Sandy at City Dance asked me if I would like consider teaching a weekly class. And I was like, because I'd only done like workshops until then. But I honestly, I've been teaching there I'm on a pause right now because, balance. So I'm on a little sabbatical now, but I had been teaching there, I think like 13 years.
Wow.
So that's when I started finding my love for educating people. And just like Alli was saying, like having people imagine, like expand their imagination on what their potential could be. And that's honestly what I&Q is about, is like, at first it started off as an intensive where I was just gassing them up. Like, you can do this. Like, I think there was a new crowd that was discovering the dance community. Whereas like we grew up in it, but there was like these, adults that found, like, because of institutions like City Dance, discovered the community much like I did when I was 18. But they were fresh. They hadn't been dancing since they were kids. So it was really like energizing to like show them the ropes. And also, like I said, like really put sincere faith in them so that they could then grow. So I think becoming an educator, like, kind of has defined this like latest chapter in my dance life. So yeah,
I just
hopefully I
want to
summed it up okay.
I'm a big Funkonometry fan.
Oh.
It was always one of my favorite companies in Dance Fest. Just fierce.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sassy.
Yeah.
Got into it, exactly. All the hair.
Yeah. And of course, I remember, and I'll never, ever forget Alli Fritz as a 5-year-old.
No.
I can close my eyes and see it. She's one of those, oh, okay, at 5, she's already there. You are, sometimes they eventually get the swag, or this one started out with swag immediately. Stood out. It was just like, okay. And then I had the honor and pleasure of teaching both her sisters after that. And then, of course, I remember Rocko as an 18-year-old and kind of like, shy and subdued, but into our family. So the connection of the company that you both have performed with is Funkonometry. Have you performed with other dance companies besides that?
In Dance Fest or?
No, just in general.
Oh, so when I was in college, I used to compete and perform with ACA, which was the Chinese American group on campus. or NSU, which was the Japanese American group on campus. All of the clubs at the UCs were built out of those different groups. So I performed with ACA and NSU back in the day. I was on Rogue Makers with Bill Fournier for all of like 3 seconds because I blew out my knee, which, again, knees are the worst things happen. But got to train with Rogue for a little bit. Yeah, those are the main dance companies and Funkonometry that I've been a part of.
God, it's really like I have a terrible memory, so I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
kind of that's so Raven it, you know. Let's see. I trained with Lando Wilkins. He's a really underrated and like amazing choreographer and talent. And his whole thing was like putting communities together. So like at first it was like putting SD community and like LA together, and then they would do a performance as box cutters. And then it was LA and the Bay. And then, so I don't know, that was like a really good like modeling for like how like dance can like bring people together. So big shout out to Lando, and he's like endlessly creative. And then I think it was more or less like a lot of projects. I feel like there's like this era of projects because I think there's like a lot of, you know, this like resurgence of choreographers, or like an emergence, I guess, of choreographers, like in the like 2010s, I want to say. I don't know how to define the decades, but yeah, so a lot of projects. Like I danced with Julio Morales and Milo McManus on their project called Final Product. And it was just like a lot of that, a bunch of little creatives. Like there was this queer party called Fuse in Sunnyvale, and they very much centered like the dance community for that event. So they would always feature choreographers. So like Amber Davina and like many people would like put together projects. So more projects than dance companies. It's pretty much been Funkonometry and I&Q.
You know what I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've probably mentioned it to several of you, is somebody make a big tree.
Yeah.
A big family tree. And because, especially Bay Area, because that's what I know the best as far as, and then they put a dot on all the different groups or people that they perform with. Because when I encounter a lot of these young people, I'm like, oh yeah, I know you. Who did you dance with? And they're like, oh, I danced with FBC, and then I was with Funkonometry, and then I even did some stuff with Alan Frias. And I'm like, whoa,
right?
You know,
Mama Cam.
It's all intermingled, isn't it?
You need like dance profiles of which groups do you belong to?
Like dance genealogy.
Right, genealogy.
And so many groups have.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, so many groups have come from other groups as well too. Like I&Q is kind of an unofficial spinoff from Funks. You know, it's a lot of the same family that just moved to this next step. And then before Funks,
exactly. So traveling back, it was Kaba Modern. That's kind of the older people from Kaba Modern made Funks LA, and then Funks LA branched off to do the Funks SF and SD eventually. And then, like Alli said, it kind of, and I honestly believe that Full Out is kind of like a manifestation of Funkonometry as well. So to your point, Micaya, everything is really like deeply connected.
Well, tell us about I&Q then.
Yes.
Sure. So, like I was saying, it started off as kind of like a program. I'm always embarrassed to talk about this, but I&Q is like not even an abbreviation, but in my head it was like incubator.
Okay. So I was waiting for that. That's why I'm like.
Yeah. So I see why there's confusion. I'm
too late now. We can't change the name.
Yeah. So that was the concept. Like I see these passionate dancers that just didn't have the same privilege, I would say, as like being able to train with people like Micaya and getting the training growing up early on. So I was like, how can I like build a program that like treats them as if, because for me, the way I learned is just to get thrown in. Like, I don't know. I'm not the best at academia. I think like real practical hands-on experience, like really just forces you to like get yourself together and like figure it out. And so that's kind of, I took everything I learned from being on Funkonometry and kind of applied that same culture and honestly, like the traditions and the format of how we run rehearsal and how we cast pieces, and just said, yes, you're ready for this. Like, let's do it. Let's put a piece together. I found a lot of joy in that. I found a lot of joy in the creativity, but I found more joy in like I said before, making people like believe that they deserve to be on the stage. And then it just kept evolving. And then actually my partner, Anthony, I was asking him, how do we level up INQ? Like, we've been doing this for a couple of intensives now. And he was like, y'all should compete. I was like, that's so weird, but I guess, sure, why not? Like, let's raise the stakes. So we competed. I think it was either at, I forget which show, so I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was a community show, and we, I think was it Onyx? Well, we competed and we placed third. So we're like, huh? So we're like, oh, and then kind of just like looking back, like I am now, we're like, oh, actually, INQ, though is an intensive, it kind of developed an attitude and a personality, and I was like, yeah, this could be a dance company. So then it evolved into a dance company. That's where we are now.
When we competed for the first time, again, it was like just for giggles. We were like, let's try. Let's like really put a piece together that you got to raise the bar every once in a while to push yourself that much more. And so we did. And like Rocko said, we got third. And again, I don't remember how many teams were competing, but y'all, the way we won third felt like we won first place. Like, they gave us the trophy. They're like, and second place goes, oh no, first I think we got like most creative or something. Yeah. We were like, yes, like superlatives. That was like we won first place. That was like we won first place because we're a little over the top, Again, Extra AF is my separate dance intensive, but it speaks to kind of the tone of Rocko and I for a lot of the productions we put together. Really over the top, really pushing what we do. But yeah, we got most creative or whatever it was in third place. Again, they're calling second, they're calling first. Like, we did not win. We are still out there taking pictures with our trophy. Like, we were so excited. You could not tell us that was not first place. Or something. They literally had to come over there like, you guys, we have to get out of the theater by a certain time. Like, we're happy for you, but like, please go home. You have to leave now. So we left, but to Rocko's point, it kind of shifted where INQ could go. And again, it's like, you could always maybe go there, but once you finally put yourself in that arena and you've been validated in some sense, you're like, okay, let's push. So then INQ continued to grow and grow and grow into a team where we're like, well, what else can we do? Let's push the bar. Let's see how much we can grow and level up our group as a community, and for the community, raising the bar of like, we're one of the home teams of Full Out Studios and really wanting to just represent Oakland and represent the Bay Area and sort of the diverse team that we've got and kind of pulled together. And it's attracted really wonderful human beings. So I would say now too, where we are as a company is INQ, we've got dancers that have been with us from the start. We've got dancers that are 6 months in, 2 weeks into dancing with the company. And it's really cool to see, while everyone's really different, the core things are always the same. Everyone's always a really inspiring, a really talented mover in different pockets and different categories. So we've got folks that are excellent whackers. We've got folks that, again, are trained in all things contemporary or ballet. We've got folks that have been in hip hop their entire life. So it's really kind of a melding together of a lot of different talents. And they're all really kind and wonderful human beings. So shout out to INQ. They're very much a family. I know people say that about their dance companies because it's true at the end of the day. You spend so much time together in rehearsals. You're all pushing towards the same goal of like, we want to be really proud of what we put on stage and what we build and create together. So it's been cool. While INQ started as an incubating of sort of younger, more green dancers of you could do this, you can go on stage. I would say INQ still stands by that same concept of we've got more seasoned, more senior dancers now who have maybe been in the space a longer time, but we're trying to cultivate those folks even more, whether it's in the leadership space or in their own choreographing space and putting their work into our piece that's going to go to Dance Fest as well too. So still incubating talent with a Q, but in a different format now.
Incubating with a Q.
With a Q.
With a Q. And so that kind of like completely leads us into, after hearing about INQ and what kind of company it is, I want to hear about the piece. So how are you, working with, like you're saying, these different levels of experience, the different kind of dancers have immersed in different types of dance. And so tell us about this piece for dancers.
So God bless Micaya and God bless Alli, especially for like letting me just be like, what if we do this like random thing? And they're just like, yeah, if you want to do that, you should totally do it. So I do. Context, I honestly, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, Rocko always has the most amazing and creative ideas. And he's like, what if this, and pitches it. And even if you're not sure right away, you're like, yes, that sounds good. Let's suss that out. Let's figure that. That's going to be great. And it always is.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Yeah. So at the risk of sounding like super like artsy, during the pandemic, let's start there. During the pandemic, I don't know if y'all felt this too. It's like time was kind of like warping. Mm-hmm. I still like say like, oh my God. And then last year, but it's literally like 5 years ago. And, we were all going a little stir crazy being in the same space for months and months and months. And not only that, we're facing, like reflecting on ourselves, reflecting on the state of our community, the state of our world. So it's not like we were just in isolation. We also were there with these really kind of heavy things to unpack and like synthesize. And it sounds really corny, but there's this tree that was outside my house. Another embarrassing fact. This is the only place I've lived except for like the home I grew up in. So I've been here for a minute. That's another example of like being in the same space and like time like passing by as you blink. But there's this tree outside my house that actually changes during the seasons. And I think it was like seeing that as I passed the kitchen every morning kind of at least gave me some semblance of like understanding that time is moving forward. So I thought that was like a beautiful, though maybe overdone, but beautiful like symbolism for time passing and the seasons that we experience in life. So that is like the really hefty kind of background to the theme of this. So the way we're contextualizing time passing is through like from a romantic lens. And each season that we pass is also represented by an era of music, just to reinforce that idea of like time passing by. So in the spring, we have the 50s where there's this kind of like idyllic, kind of like naive love. And it could also just be about life, right? Like we have this like youthful kind of optimism at first. I mean, honestly, I say youthful, but like in 2019, I was like, 2020 is going to be our year. Like I had this like, I was like, I just know like the studio is like not in debt anymore. Like we're about to do big things. And, that kind of disappeared. So that's another kind of parallel there with the theme. And then in summer, it's the 70s. That just felt right to me. I imagine like the sweaty streets of New York, and you're just kind of lustful and like finding, people to connect with. And then we have fall, which is Miss Lauryn Hill. I don't want to give too much away, but we're in the 90s, right? 90s, 2000s. And I feel like she's just the perfect capture, like soul wise of like kind of conflict, like the song that we're doing is her diss track to Wyclef, and there's like this like visceral kind of energy about it. And so that's like what we all feel in certain relationships at certain points. And then we have winter, which brings us back to present day. We're doing a Daniel Caesar track, which is this kind of like representation of winter. Like you're sullen, you're withdrawn, you're maybe a little cynical. You've been through the pain of, let's just say, the pandemic, and now you're like, what is the meaning of life? And then eventually we roll around back to spring, which is mostly Alli's piece, which is amazing. And it's kind of anthemic, and it's like about picking up the pieces. And the general feeling, sorry, this is so long-winded, is that, spring will come again. You know, you go through these cycles of life, you go through these eras of experience that are defined by the people that are around you, often by the relationships that you're in. And you often meet conflict and challenges and times where you don't know what you're doing and if you'll ever recover, but eventually always spring comes, and eventually always you recover and you remember who the F you are, and you pick up the pieces and you lean on the people around you, and you move forward. So I hope that made sense.
It does. And I'm excited to see the coming back around to spring. I'm glad it doesn't stop with me.
Yeah.
You know,
right. And see.
Like, yeah, exactly. I'm like,
don't leave me with that. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ironically, too, that last spring piece was something I had originally created because of something I was going through personally and was feeling really down and really heavy and really overwhelmed. So I created it for myself initially of like this, I need this for me to, like Rocko said, remind me who the F I am and who this community is and how strong and powerful we are. And I think a common thread for me too, there was no tree outside my window, unfortunately, but something that was a current thread or a thread rather throughout the whole pandemic was being able to dance. And I remember the first time I actually got to go back to full out, just to be in the space by myself, because that was the safest thing to do at the time, alone in the whole big studio. I cried, and I cried because I was so relieved of like the world felt like it was literally collapsing, but the studio still stood there, you know, and there was just a sense of comfort being in that space. And then to have those Zoom meetings and Zoom calls where I'm like, welcome to my living room, everybody stretch, you know, to then being able to teach parking lot outdoor classes. I think the piece has been really therapeutic for Rocko and I to put together too, of like, despite everything that everyone has gone through over the last however many years, because again, like what is time, which leads back to the whole piece. It's dance has always been a through line as well too. So to be able to represent that through different seasons of life, of literally the seasons of the decades, kind of bringing it together in a couple different flavors has been a really nice piece considering where we are in time at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'm sure you guys kind of feel that way too. It's like the return of Dance Fest kind of marks this like feeling of moving forward. And I feel like, and for Alli and us, like dancing at the Palace of Fine Arts in general is like, you know, another indication of like, side story. My partner and I went to New York last year and we went to see a show called Hadestown, which I highly recommend. And we didn't know this, but it was the first day they were back on Broadway.
Wow.
And for literally 15 minutes, we, the audience, stood and applauded when the cast came out. I'm getting emotional now. And I just like literally, I didn't even know like too much about the play, but just the feeling of everyone being so grateful that we had that privilege back. Like I was like from the jump, like already crying, like the show hadn't even started yet. So I think that's very much like how I feel about Dance Fest returning.
Yes.
We're excited to be back. The last 2 years, we did do a show, but it was not a live show. I can relate to all of that, you know, coming back and teaching in parking lots, in all kinds of funny places in this office right here through Zoom. And we're really excited to see this piece at the 24th annual San Francisco International Hip Hop Dance Fest. There will be a tree, a literal tree, just to let everyone know that the tree is not just symbolic, that they're bringing a tree, not a real tree, but a tree that they designed for this piece. And you all have performed at the SF International Hip Hop Dance Fest before, so it'll be a homecoming of sorts to have you back. And we know that it's going to feel good again to have everyone back, especially Bay Area people. And then, you know, Bay Area people opening their arms to the people who are not from here and creating creating a worldwide community, which is what the Dance Fest tends to do. We have a little tradition that we started this season. It's called Silly Question Jar.
I like it. I like it already. Let's do it.
And I made some silly questions, and I pull it out, and that's how we end our thing. It's just asking these silly questions. Let's see. It says, have you ever been, it's not that silly, have you ever been injured on stage and did you keep going?
Yes, unfortunately. I mentioned it earlier too, that I've blown out my knee. I've torn things in both knees, and one time on stage, it was actually like kind of not, it's somewhat comical now, but when I was dancing with NSU and I was directing the team, it was my senior year, one of our final shows. Like, it was kind of the halfway point in the year, so maybe you had one or two big ones left. And we had this ridiculous, over the top, like Cinderella themed routine that we had put together. And there was this one routine choreographed by Jonathan Season. So super fabulous, super femme, super like gow gow kind of noises. And there was this part where I was supposed to roll to the ground. And long story short, I'll spare you the details. Knee didn't work out well. And I was off, not totally off to the side. I had to like crawl my way off to the edge because it was donezo. So I like scoot, but I'm in like a sparkly dress and a sparkly crop top, like I make it off to the side. You barely see it. But then we ended up going to the emergency room, and my good friend Caitlin, who was my co-director at the time, she was like, it's going to be fine. Because I'm a mess. I'm hysterical. I'm so sad that I'd blown out my knee, or felt like that's what it was. And so I have this video of me sitting in the emergency room with crutches, still full hair and makeup, full outfit, like just looking like the saddest little like toddlers and tiaras type of outfit, just so sad. And my friend Caitlin is singing along, and she's like, the song was Donatella that we had danced to, where it's like, I'm blonde, I'm rich, and I'm a little bit of a ciao. And she changed the word. She was like, I'm Alli, I'm broken, and I'm still sparkly. Kapow. So there's a video of me just singing that and very sad and crying along. But we recover, we do some physical therapy, everything's fine, but I have very funny footage of me injuring myself, unfortunately, on stage.
That's big.
It happens.
I don't think I've majorly injured myself. When I was, I think maybe in like the 4th grade, I was obsessed with the movie The Mask. I don't know why, but for the talent show, I was like, I know what to do. I'm gonna do a tap dance to that song from The Mask, and I was like so ready, and the curtains parted, and I was like, but like the first step, I slipped and I fell.
Oh no!
Of course, mortified, I like started crying, and then took a minute in the wings, but then I went back out and I did my little performance.
That's all that matters.
Poor little Rocko. That trauma I'm probably still healing from.
Oh no!
That means you're officially a dancer. That's what
exactly. That's true.
Right.
Brandy, what about you?
I think this was a piece we did. Remember that piece we did that was like a lot of house, and we had like the brown outfits on.
Love that piece.
Yeah. There's a part where we're kind of like all almost doing some kind of plank push-up move, and I got kicked in the face.
No.
Like, damn, and you're just like, okay, next 5. Right?
Oh no.
Stepping. You're like, I'm good. I can see.
Dang.
Yes, that was a good one. How about you, Micaya?
I've never been injured on stage when I was performing. I've definitely had things happen when I've been teaching. My back go out, my knee hurt. I remember one time when I was teaching kind of jazzy stuff, and I had some long hair. And I did some Alli Fritz kind of stuff, like whip hair. And I was at the ground, and then I put my foot down, and it had a chunk of my hair, and I whacked my hair, and then I looked down, and a big chunk of my hair, not fake hair, was in under my foot.
Oh, dang.
That was I looked amazing. That was worth it.
You should have picked it up and kept going. Like,
Worth it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, because it was a good, part of my hair that I got. Man. Anyway, thank you so much, Alli and Rocko, and INQ will be performing at the San Francisco International Hip Hop Dance Fest on November 11th, 12th, and 13th. Go to sfhiphopdancefest.com. Brandy will be there. She hasn't picked out her outfit yet, but she talks about it every week.
I gotta go shopping and then it'll probably end up being something black and real comfortable, but I'll be looking cute, okay?
I'm into orange right now, so I got some orange boots.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
I can't wait to see those.
I know. See if I can still wear heels and not want to throw them off.
Exactly.
Everyone, thank you for being here. Thank you all for sharing this time with us. And until next time, much love and much respect. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.